They keep changing this stupid thing. Okay, here we go. Setting up. All right. I think we
Mine
are.
says it's now streaming live, but I didn't get notification that it was.
Yeah, it says
mine just did.
Okay, you're on.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Ghost Ed 101. Tonight, we are presenting positions on a paranormal team and team management. Joining us is Jerry Beavers, the founder of Valkyrie Paranormal, and Beth Darlington. So, Jerry, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, like you said, I'm the founder of Valkyrie Paranormal. We're a team based out of Moore, Oklahoma. We are fairly new as a team, but I've been around doing investigations for a little over 5 years as a team member on one team or another. And I have been involved in some events and things like that really made me think about how I wanted to manage a team. And so I thought this would be a great way to help share what works for us and give some examples of what may or may not or may work for other people.
Awesome. Thank you. And Beth, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yes, my name's Beth Darlington. I've been actively investigating the paranormal for about 12 years now. As you can tell, the Australian accent is very still there, but I live here in the UK. I have a website called accessparanormal.com, do that online learning for paranormal investigators. I started off, like most people do, on my own, being interested, and then obviously joining a team for a year and a half. So I was a case manager there, which was really, really good. But then I branched out on my own as an independent paranormal investigator. So obviously, later on this tonight, and we'll talk a bit more about what that means if people are interested. And I've been independent ever since as well. So I've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed the freedom of that, but also working alongside other teams and working and helping them as well. So I've had a bit of the best of both worlds, I guess you could say. And the fact there's the flexibility to be able to do both, but of course we'll get into that. But I love it. It's obviously we're not here for a haircut or a pizza. We're here because we're interested in this fabulous topic, and it's fascinating, and it always intrigue many of us. And I've studied at the Ryan Institute as well as the School of Parapsychology, members of associations here like the Society of Psychical Research and ASSIP as well, and the Ghost Club. I mean, you can't not join the Ghost Club here. It's a fantastic group. So yeah, little things like that, but it's been really good. Obviously, COVID's kind of hindered things a little bit in the last 12 months, but things are now starting to pick up here. So happy to get back stuck into it from a more of a logistics and more field experience as opposed to just doing the whole research and learning side of it. Yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. So, Jerry, with all that being said, would you like to start us with our presentation?
Yes, ma'am. Let me see. All right. You guys see that?
I see it, yes.
Okay. So I thought this is one of my favorite pictures. I took this and, I love it. I share it with all the things that every time I can share it. So where is why do we want to have members to have assigned duties? Depending on your team goals, it'll help determine how many, if any, assigned positions you want to incorporate in your organization. Whether you're a weekend team looking for your own experiences, or the general rush of just sitting in the dark talking to yourself, because we all know that's pretty much basically what we do is we sit in the dark talking to ourselves, right? Having everybody have their own responsibilities and tasks associated with whatever event you're doing will help take the stress level down and make sure that everybody's enjoying themselves. Because when it's not fun, it's hard work. And when it's hard work, you're not enjoying yourself. And when you're not enjoying yourself, you don't want to do it anymore. And I don't want to stop doing that. So I like a little bit of I'm a free spirit, but in a lot of ways. But when it comes to paranormal investigations, I like a little bit of organization. Kind of keeps everything fun. The types of investigations, depending on what kind you are holding, is going to help you determine what kind of positions you're going to have. So private investigation could be at a public venue, private residence or business. This is not open to the public. Public events and fundraisers, they're open to the public. Often there's a cost associated with attending. Party attendance, not all paranormal teams do this, but there are some that do. My team specifically does this as well. Those are private in-home or work parties for readings, investigation, or educational classes. A lot of times the attendees are invited by the host. Educational classes, such as this one, private paranormal 101 or any other paranormal related classes. Often there's a cost associated with attending. Sorry, my Okie accent is coming out there a little bit. And then services of need. That's a private investigation at a residence or business with unexplained activity. Often the clients are being affected negatively, and we do not charge for services of need, and we do not share information about the investigation with parties outside of the client and team. Again, this is a services need, and this is a private investigation, and we don't share that information. If the client decides to share that, that's up to them. So keeping those things in mind, the types of investigations that you're going to use will help you with the duties that you're going to assign to your team members, if any. The Beatles are my favorite, but we all get by with a little bit of help with our friends and our teammates, right? Breaking it all down and having a good time. So I try to keep it fairly simple. And I do like pretty things, but I try to keep it easy on the eyes here. So the assignment of duties, every team member has something to bring to an investigation. Even the most experienced investigator can learn something from somebody new, brings fresh eyes to the team, right? Think of something, they may have seen something that, oh man, maybe this will work. Like somebody may bring in a piece of equipment you may not have thought about having and utilizing it on an investigation. Go, oh man, why didn't I think of that, right? That was so simple. But sometimes we need to remember to go back to the simple things. Let's see. So the first, I'm not going to say it's the most important, but this is how your team gets started, right? The founder or owner is the primary organizer of the team. The founder can delegate founder duties to any team member when necessary. This is to meet the team's needs. A lot of time, the founder is usually the face of the team. So if you hear Valkyrie Paranormal, my face might pop into your mind, or not, in whatever the case may be, right? So a team member is just that. It's an active member of the team. Sometimes teams have back office or support only members who do not go into the field. Not all teams work that way, but again, it's whatever works for you. An investigator, again, it's just that. It's a team member who attends investigations in the field and is an active participant in the investigation or event. And the lead investigator. A lead investigator provides investigation strategy or methods used for each case. They may lead the investigation in its entirety or designate other investigators to lead specific activities or methods. Lead investigators are usually more experienced and are able to educate less experienced investigators. Even like I said earlier, even lead investigators can learn from others on and off the team. I like to keep an open mind. Linda's taught me a few things, but don't tell her I said that. A case manager. The case manager is usually the first contact for inquiries from potential clients. They conduct phone interviews, initial home visits, and make arrangements for investigations. Depending on what kind of team you have, the case manager can also seek out locations for investigations, public events, classes, etc. Or even look, to do podcasts. We'd like to do podcasts too and share our knowledge over a base that we may not normally get to. A historian. I like to do history, but I don't like to do history. You know what I mean? I like to go in blind, but the historian will conduct a history research prior to an investigation. And this can be anything to do with the investigation. It could be history over the town, the city, the exact location, anything that had happened in the area based off the type of activity that the client is experiencing. Equipment tech. Some teams do not have an assigned equipment tech. Everybody's responsible for their own equipment, and that's fine too. But when you get to have a bigger team and you are experiencing holding bigger events, it's best to have one of these so we don't lose equipment, because we all know equipment is kind of expensive, right? The equipment tech is a member that is responsible for setting up the equipment and verifying all the equipment has been retrieved prior to an investigation departure. I have some equipment that I've left behind and I need to go pick it up, but you know, that's my fault because I didn't make sure it was all checked in. Some of the equipment techs may be in the field. Ooh, I have a typo there. Ooh, sorry about that, guys. They may participate in the investigation, but they may not be in the investigation. They may be in a home base and via an audio video station. They may be reviewing video and audio and that sort of thing from a home base. An evidence tech, that's a team member that is responsible for reviewing documentations, photos, video recordings, you know, anything you may collect at the site. Collected from investigation, sharing anything that may be of interest or require further investigation from another member. So maybe our tech come across an EVP and they want somebody else to listen to it. So we do share information that way. Photographer, everybody can be a photographer, but I like to have somebody specifically responsible for documenting the investigation event, being the photography or videography. That gives everybody else a little bit of opportunity to focus on the task that they have at hand and not have to worry about sorry, I got sidetracked there, about taking pictures. A safety officer. I didn't realize that I would think about adding a safety officer before, but when we did an event with the Wounded Warriors, it was brought to our attention. Well, we kind of reminded us that maybe we would have somebody that would be triggered by the dark or the lights or things like that. And we wanted somebody to be aware of that. So we decided we would have a safety officer that was not only in charge of little things like that, but somebody that was trained in first aid. And we do have a code word that we use not to draw attention to something that may be happening. And so a code word is what I've decided to use for the safety officers and anything that we have that way for emergency situations. And I do recommend, it's not required, but I do recommend if you're holding large public events, you might consider having a member or bring in somebody that can be your security safety officer. This helps keep everybody in line with what their task is and not have to worry about what's going on outside of your specific location. And that way everybody can feel at ease. You have somebody watching, you don't have any strangers wandering in on your investigation. Let's see, come back here. We do have a public event coordinator. That's a team member leading organization of public events. This could be an active field investigator or a back office support. It's really important if you're doing a large event to have somebody who's in charge and knows what's going on. Otherwise, it's a little bit of chaotic and you don't look like you have your stuff together. It's kind of stressful. Media coordinator, that could also be the same as just moving over to the media. It's a team member that updates team going on via media outlets, Facebook, Instagram, website, whatever the case may be, whatever venues you use. This could be an active field investigator, back office support member. But really, people do want to know what you as a team have going on. They want to know when they can come out and hang out with you and meet you and do an investigation with you. And sometimes people just want a place to ask questions if maybe they're having some sort of activity and they feel comfortable because they have watched your personal live streams, because we do live streams as well. So you can tell a lot by a team by watching their live streams. Let's see, where'd my little button go? Come here. Oh, there we go. And that's basically it. Those are the different types of positions that I've thought that might be very important as your team grows, and especially if you're going to do large groups. You want to be organized, take the stress off, and have a good time. And you want it to be an organization. You don't want it to be chaos nation, right? So, I've been involved in some things that really didn't have organization, and it made everybody uncomfortable. Nobody had fun. It was stressful, and it was very everybody was unhappy in the end, and that's not really what we want to do when we're doing an investigation, whether it's private or public. So, and whenever you're not happy, you don't want to do that anymore again. So I hope that helps. What do you think, Linda?
Thanks. I think that was great information. There's two questions that have come up that I want you to address. The first one is the role of the psychic medium on the paranormal team. That was a question that was asked.
And I thought about adding that whenever
Yeah.
I was putting this together, but not everybody utilizes a psychic medium.
Not everybody does, but you know, they all do it different. I know
Right.
when Sal comes in, he comes in totally blind.
Right. We do, everybody on my team, everybody has abilities. So we usually have one or two people that know the history, because, you know, you want to be safe and you want to know what's going on and what to look for. And then we have everybody else comes in blind. So kind of, I think our team kind of not cheats, but we're kind of different than everybody, that everybody does have abilities, and it's not really an assigned role, but
Right.
because we all have abilities. That is something that you could think about incorporating, how you want to utilize that member of the team. Some of them want to do the walkthrough. Some of them just want to just go throughout the investigation, just as is.
Right.
I like to be the one that going blind, but being the team lead, it's kind of hard sometimes going in blind. That's why I like to have a case manager that does that, and we take turns. So that's part of the fun for me. I don't know about anybody else that has abilities. The part of the fun for me is cooperating after the fact, the experiences that I've had. So, but yeah, you can do that. I mean, it's a personal preference.
Right. And the other thing, just another input I would like to have, and then we'll get Beth's input on all of this. We have a really small team, but we try to keep it extremely balanced. Depending on what situation you're going into, the people that are on my team, we can basically cover everything. So we have a chief of police on the team. So he is great for sitting down and interviewing and asking questions, and asking the same question over and over again, just in different ways, to actually get to the heart of the situation, see if
Right.
we get the same answers.
Everybody needs a Steve DeShavi.
Right. And then we have Sal is our psychic, but he's also a licensed contractor. So he's looking at the house. He's looking at the wiring, the building, the
Right.
flooring, the doors, how they open, how they close, all that kind of stuff. We've got Pete is a doctor and Rick is a nurse. So we have looked at medications, and
We do.
we've
We
done
do.
private investigations. We ask permission, but we do look in the medicine cabinet. And with that kind of experience, they can say, well, this prescription is basically for back problems, or this is a mental health prescription.
Right.
Jerry Phillip asked, can we, if we're done with the screen, switch back to
Oh,
regular?
yeah, hang on.
Yeah.
Sure. There you go.
And
How
then
there you go.
I myself have been in the education field for 30 years. My degree is early childhood. So if it deals with a child's spirit or a child in the home, that's my forte. And I jump in there. So I think it helps to have a balanced team, not necessarily exact jobs, but all your bases are covered.
Right.
Yeah. Beth, what's your input?
Again, guys, I agree a lot with what's being said. I think, often when people start teams or want to look at starting a team and being involved. I think it's finding your reasons as to why you want to join a team or start a team. I think that's a big part from the beginning, because that will then drive the kind of people that you have in your team. So a lot of people all want to find their own answers, or a lot of people may want to find out possibilities of working with mediums and the afterlife. Other people may actually be more of a tech driven sort of style team. So maybe that's the kind of avenue they want to take. And often sometimes those groups can actually be people that will end up creating their own different types of equipment. Or what's your drive? Is it more from a historical perspective? Do you like learning about the history of a location to see whether or not that correlates with people's experiences? So I think sometimes from the beginning, asking what kind of team you want to be in or what kind of team you want to create is also a really part to start off with as well. Again, the great roles that was mentioned before are fantastic. I know a lot of people, put data analyst in there, or records keeper, and again, of course, we've got events focused, as you mentioned as well. So all different type of roles of equally, even occult specialists as well. Over here, there's so many different, so many layers of different types of faiths regarding occult here, in particular with Celtic and all sorts of stuff as well. So people may be knowledgeable in those kinds of aspects as well. In the team I was part of, there was an individual that was also quite well known in different types of faiths. So they knew about Islam, and knew quite well. They knew about Christian faiths quite well, which really helps when you're dealing with people's beliefs of the afterlife. So that, again, can be really, really important to have if you've got somebody like that in your team, or if that's the kind of avenue that you want to have with kind of cases you want to be taking on or looking at as well. So, yeah, and also, as we mentioned before, it's finding the right person too. It's finding the right people that are going to gel together. You can have a laugh at 3 a.m. when you're all feeling extremely tired, and and your humor just ends up taking a very strange left-hand turn. So again, it's not just finding the kind of direction you want for your team, but also the kind of the right people to be a part of it. Hugely makes a massive difference, and also will help so much with team collaboration as well. So, and we all know evidence analysts as well. So as far as the whole reviewing all the footage afterwards and how delightfully long that takes, but we do it because we love it, and at the end of the day, it's to find out the answers and your team's direction, which will be the big part of that as well. So yeah.
If you see me looking down, I'm monitoring the questions, and Kate Thornton came up with a really good point here. She wants to know, on teams, are individual team members versed in all areas to a certain degree? So, for example, your tech manager can't make it, you're not left holding the bag. You've got somebody who can jump in.
On our team, yes, everybody knows a little bit about everything. We're working towards getting everybody have a backup, so we have a case manager and a backup case manager. So that makes technically 3 case managers. Being the founder, I am case manager, backup case manager. So it just gives us, you don't want to be in a silo, basically is what she's saying. And I totally agree with that, because if you've worked in any kind of business and you're going to have events and do those kinds of things, you want to run it like a business. And that's why you want to have the different, everybody have their own job to do. And again, you need a backup, and that's a really good point to bring up.
I think it comes also from if you've got a really good briefing to the team about the case that you're taking, usually a lot of people will be across what's actually happening anyway. So if something happens, but like you say, something like your case manager may be unwell, or your tech person might be unwell, then someone's like, well, the whole team knows what's happening already. They've been briefed properly. Someone will be able to jump in and go, okay, this is what's happening. So like you say, it's generally people will have their roles, but it's often people will be cross over to another role if they need to jump in at a last moment, because we're human, like this is flesh and blood, there's not things can happen. So and again, like you said, it's running it like a business. It's making sure that people are briefed up enough to be able to carry on for what they need to do for the night.
And I often, because our team is fairly new, a lot of my investigators have been doing this for less than a year. So even though I'm there and I'm lead, I often will step back and let them do all the things. So what if I'm not able to go? I want them to be able to go ahead and and have the investigation or do the interview without me, and feel comfortable doing that. So it's all about being comfortable in what you're doing.
And this next question goes back to what Beth was talking about, teams, a group of people that gel together. This person asked, did you ever find that a designated assignment can go to somebody's head? I've seen huge arguments start because of the positions they hold in teams. Now, I can answer this and say, in my team, honestly, no, I'm very blessed. We've been together 12 years and we are family and we work extremely well together. But I see in different teams, these kind of things do arise. Comments?
I've seen it happen, and I've been on a team where that has happened. So you do have to take into consideration the personality of the person and the dynamics of the team. And if that's your team dynamics, and that's going to be the person in charge of all the things and everybody else is just going to kind of stand around, then that's what works for you. But everybody should have everybody is important on our team. And I think that should be the way it works. If you want a successful team, no matter what your base beliefs are, whether you're in it for just fun, going out and having a great time, or if you're going to do large events, or if you're just going to do private home investigations, you have to be working well together and be respectful of each other so that you're, what's the word I'm looking for? You're successful at whatever that may be for you.
Right. And this question would be directed to Valkyrie because it doesn't pertain to me. I don't know about Beth. Maybe she'll have some input. How do you go about finding a reputable person with abilities? We have a small group, but only 2 are developing any abilities and are looking.
So how my team came about is I was taking classes to enhance my abilities and learn about the different things, different kind of abilities. And so we just kind of gelled together, and I'm very big on dreams and that sort of thing. And I had a dream that I needed a realtor. And so I was sitting at class, and it was a sharing circle. I think it was, we were sharing messages, message circle. And I remember meeting this person before, but for a very short time. It was like in passing, and she had looked at me across the room. We were sharing things, and she had said, I said, I need a realtor. She goes, well, can I be a medium? I'm like, yes, yes, I need you. I was supposed to ask for you, but asking for, I need a realtor. I didn't need a realtor, but that was how I was supposed to find who I was looking for. So it could be fate, or you could, try out their abilities, or you could reach out to somebody that, I don't know. It's just kind of hard. I don't feel like I'm looking for team members. We just, whoever is supposed to be on my team will find me and find the team. But you may reach out to like a local, or even go to classes yourself, even if you don't think you have abilities, you do. So that's one way to go. And I can point you in a direction. I can give you a link to a lady who does classes in person and on Zoom.
And
So,
Jerry, I will let you know who asked that question.
okay.
Maybe you could share the information with them later.
So, but that's kind of touchy. I mean, just because someone says that they are, not that there are fakes out there at all, ever. And just because what they say and I say in an investigation, may not both be right. We may not both be wrong, but that's what we're seeing. So it's just, it's a trial and error, I think, with any kind of team member. I hope that helps helps that question.
Yeah. And I think when you're assigning jobs, you really have to look at the person and try to discern whether they are well suited for that.
Yes.
The audio and the video tech, that is not my forte. When I love being on an investigation, but
Yes,
then at times it's time to come home and listen to 45 minutes of white noise. I
I
that's
struggle.
I do it,
I struggle.
but it's a sacrifice. There are other teams where people love to do that. They don't necessarily want to be in the limelight, but they're more than happy. They may not even go on the investigation, but
Right.
they're more than happy for you to give them all your audio, all your video,
And they have
they
the ears.
and they have the ear. And that's important too. When you're looking for an audio or a video person, they have to have the ear. And the video person has to have some knowledge of photography
Right.
to be able to explain, well, that could be the strap of your camera, or that's a lens flare, or they have to have that. So it's important when you're looking at the positions to discern that.
Right.
And I can talk to somebody all day long, so I'm the best person on my team to go and meet with the client, find out what's going on, ask the initial interview questions. I love that. I could do it all day long. But sitting down and listening to 5 hours worth of an abandoned asylum is not my game, but I'll do it.
Right.
I will do it.
Part
And
of it.
sometimes
Somebody's
you're
gotta do it.
really pleasantly surprised. But a lot of times, like you said, it's long hours of not doing much of anything, except
Yeah, talking to ourselves, holding each other's hands,
right.
Like we're all scary for audio. So, it's everybody thinks it's like on TV, and I keep telling people it's really not. It's really not.
And you have to know the person. I'm not the most tech savvy. We scream Andy's name if something's malfunctioning. I may get it, but it'll take me 3 times as long as it would.
I know enough to be dangerous. I know.
Yeah, I can change a battery for you, but and that's another thing too. They have to understand, like the tech guy, his job is not to run around and supply you with Duracell. You need to be responsible to have those
Right.
on your person.
Right.
If I was the tech guy and somebody's radioing me for 4 AA's, I'd be kind of upset,
Once in a blue moon, I got it. We all forget sometimes, but
Right.
you got somebody that does it all the time. I'm gonna come on.
Yeah.
Come on,
I
okay,
think,
you're gonna have a-
when somebody's looking to be a position, you go over everything that position entails. And make sure that they're suited for that job so it's done properly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So like I said, a lot of my team members are newer, and it's a learning curve. And so we have sat down together to decide. Ours isn't cut and dry like I put out here. We've combined some things, and one of the girls is not really great or doesn't feel comfortable doing cold calls. I mean, if you want to go and to investigate a place that we've never been before, you're gonna have to do a cold call if you don't already have a contact. So it's, some people are not comfortable doing that. Me, I do collections during the day for a living, so I don't have a problem picking up the phone and talking to somebody I've never talked to before.
Right.
Because I'm such a wallflower, right?
Exactly.
I don't talk to anybody, and I just kind of hang out in the dark. But you have to find what their skill set is and what's going to work for them on the team. Now, if they want to go outside of that skill set, baby steps, as far as equipment. Okay, I'm going to teach you how to do EVPs, and I want you to do the EVPs for a while. Or okay, so you've got that down. So then next, I'm going to show you how to do. We're going to practice with photos. I know what I see in here, so I'm going to see what you see. So.
Right.
It's just baby steps, and it's a learning curve. And like I said, everybody has something to bring to the table. And we should all be treating each other with respect, no matter what your position on the team is, because it shouldn't be the Jerry show. Valkyrie Paranormal is not the Jerry show. It's the Valkyrie team. We are a team.
Right.
And we bounce off of each other. And we are pretty awesome, I think, about sharing our information with the other teams. I loved having Linda and her team come up whenever I did my investigation, because I've worked with her before, and I knew that she would be professional and that sort of thing, and give a great investigation. So you have to have that not only inside your team but outside your team.
Right.
And it's okay to change over to another role. Like,
It is okay.
just have to be in this one spot and that's it. Actually move over to another role. Sometimes, you know, in the teams that I've been around, like someone like you've mentioned before, you know, it's someone really interested who knows quite a bit about, you know, historical research, who can actually think, you know what, I'm really getting into this whole tech side of it. I want to be able to understand the equipment more and be able to help set up and actually, you know, deassemble as well. And then of course, like you say, if you're in a good team environment with good people, they'll actually go, yeah, come along, let's learn this. And like you said, it's a gradual thing. So, you know, some people may feel like, oh, I feel really bad, you know, I want to go and do, this is my role, but I actually want to start getting involved in this. Or maybe someone may actually start to realize they want to be doing more of a, you know, mediumship or psychic ability style position in a team as well. So that actually, no, I would really like to be able to do walkthroughs and be able to give information about what's happening in the location. And I feel like I want to develop that. So, you know, some people may feel they need to be in a one specific spot. They don't actually have to be. It's okay to move and change into something else if that's where you feel driven to. And again, if you're with the right people, the right team, that wouldn't be a problem at all.
Right.
Yeah, that's a really good point. A question that came up on the feed, and it's for each one of us. Do your teams meet, discuss the case, and review evidence with the client that's discussed as a team? So the one thing I absolutely cannot stand is when you go in, you do an investigation, and then nobody ever gets back with the client. That
Preach that.
we've gone out and they've said, we've had, you know, such a team out here. They were here for 4 hours. We never heard another thing. As our team, we do collaborate on the evidence because with only 6 of us, generally we are listening to our own stuff and we come back and we share what we found. We have the others also listen to it. Many times when they listen, it can be debunked. You know, hey, I heard this and I think it's such and such. And then you're like, oh, you're right. So that's kicked out. And so there's a lot to be said for that. And then myself and usually one other person goes back to the client, discuss what we found, answer any questions, offer suggestions. And then I'm usually the person that follows up a week or so after. How's everything going? Is it still quiet? Have you had any other occurrences? And we stick with them until they're comfortable for it to be over. So that's how we do it. So let's see how you guys do it.
That's kind of the way that we do it as well. You don't want to leave somebody hanging. So even if we bring it to a resolve, I say resolve because everything paranormal is ever finally resolved, right?
Right.
Bring it to a satisfactory resolve, we still do follow up with the client, and we do go over to see if the evidence, recorder, EVPs, if we did any photography, anything like that, and let them know if we found anything. Because if I were to have somebody come in, they never call me back to let me know, okay, we reviewed it, we didn't find anything. What we talked about is pretty much the base of the investigation. And I'm like, well, did they find something? How cool is that? Or they didn't find anything.
Right.
So then usually it's the case manager who's assigned to that specific case, who's been working with the client, will follow up with them. And a lot of times the client, if they are finding that it's more peaceful or the activity has changed, they'll go ahead and reach back out. And we do want to follow up with them when they have that happen too. So yeah, we're really big on follow up.
I think it's also the intention of the investigation from the beginning. Generally, a good team will actually be able to tell who the location and the people that they're actually helping. You know, we'll do an investigation. We will get back to you by this point. We will let you know what the outcome is. Then obviously needing to come back again, because obviously it's a long process if it's a private and or residential case. So I think it's communication from the beginning. You know, we're going to be coming in, we're going to be letting you know, we're going to be giving you an update by this time. So letting people know, I think it's that level of respect that literally the teams that, you know, may come in, like we've heard of, you know, and experienced in the past, will investigate a place and then never hear from them again. Is, you know, their intention was not to really help. Their intention was to try and find a spooky location for the night. So, and that does happen. So it's those teams that are the ones that will brief from the beginning and say, you know, this is our plan, this is what we're doing, this is what's going to happen with the information we're collected, this is what the privacy, you know, data of your data and the information we're collecting. Literally the professional style attitude of saying, you know, we're, like you said, running it as a business. This is what we're doing. This is where we're coming in to do. This is when you're going to find out some information, and then we'll go from there. We'll obviously be coming back because, you know, you can't tell if a place could possibly be haunted in one night sort of thing. So, you know, if it's a general residential and private case, it's going to be an ongoing thing. So a good, like you said, good communication, usually through the case manager, is something that should often be happening in that particular situation.
Right. And I think that's really important to make them understand that, you know, they don't play on demand. So the first time you're there, it may be extremely quiet. Are they observing us? You know, because we have interrupted the routine of that home. And it's important to let the client know that to truly help them, there may have to be repeated visits to substantiate any kind of claims that they're making. So that's important. Another question, Beth, we'll ask you first. Do you know that of a team, or does a team put members on probation period or a training period prior to making them a full member of the team?
I've heard this, I've heard teams do this before. I think more teams are starting to do this now because, you know, as we mentioned before, finding the right people is important. So, but that can take time. There's been times in the past when I was with the previous team where we had brought somebody in, we thought, yeah, it's going to be great. They seemed like a great fit. And within 3 months was not fitting at all. So you can't get to know somebody in a half an hour to an hour chat. And obviously seeing them out with the field and being out with other people and team members as well. So some people think, oh, it's really terrible that you know, it should be anyone who wants to get involved should be able to join a team. But if it's not gelling, you're not going to work. And it's like literally, it's like having a car and one wheel is the wheel's flat. It's like the car ain't going to go anywhere, and you're not going to get anywhere. Sort of thing.
That's
so
a great analogy. Great.
it is. You can only go as fast as your slowest wheel, right? So it's that kind of thing. And so it is. I think it's something that a lot of teams are starting to do now, is actually having a probationary period and actually saying, look, there's going to be about 3 months here, and it's not it's not something that people should take offence to as well. It's like, it's got to fit for them. Maybe someone's joined a team and doesn't actually really think, oh, actually, no, I don't think I can do this, or it's not my thing, or I don't like this particular individual in this team. It's not going to work if I can't get along with them, if I have to work alongside with them. So it's a two-way as well. It's not just about the people in the team that are going to get along. It's also about the person actually, whether or not they're going to want to fit into, or they actually are a proper fit. So yeah, a lot of teams are doing it. I think it's actually quite a wise thing to do, as long as it's said from the beginning, instead of saying after 3 months, oh, look, sorry, no, it's just not working out. Hang on, what, you know, as long as it's communicated from the beginning and everyone knows above board what's actually happening, then that's the thing. And often teams, when someone has actually passed their probation, will actually then get the team shirt or get the team vest, or you know how it is sometimes. So that can also be like a sort of an exception of that person, like bring them into properly. I'm saying, yeah, you know, you've been promoted to actually being part of the team on a full-time or, you know, a proper basis or permanent basis. So yeah, definitely something I think is quite recommended. What do you reckon, Jerry?
I agree with that. We do have a contract you sign, and it does state in there you're on probation. You have to attend at least one investigation or event, training, whatever the case may be, a quarter. I understand that life happens, and I get that. So that you have to communicate that to me. Okay, our team meeting was this Thursday. I have something coming up. I have somebody's graduation on Thursday. I got you. We'll work on it. And we've started recording our team meetings. So even if you're not available to join in public, you can go back in public, in person, you can go back. I'm thinking about doing an event, right? In person, then you can go back and watch that. So I think that Zoom is a really great tool to utilize. And again, like you said, I have known somebody for 5 years, and they want to join the team, and they get on and they really don't pull their weight. They're not doing what they were assigned to do. They wander off and they're causing issues on an investigation, or they just are not professional when we're out and they're wearing the team shirt so they know that they're with us. It has to be it can't be both. It can't be one-sided. You want to be on the team, you're going to have to do the legwork. If you only want to be on the team to do the fun stuff, then you need to communicate with that with me in the beginning, and then we can work with that. So that's fine. You have to, I have my expectations, and I want to hear yours as well. So it can't just be, what's the word? I can't just be the king of all and not hear the people speak. So, but I'm not the king of all. So I am a queen, but we all share in the team. So sorry, the dog keeps whining. So, but
I
yeah.
agree with that. As somebody who owns my own business, when I hire a potential employee, they have a training period, they have a probation period, before we take them on as a bona fide employee. And so it's the same, like Jerry said, um, they're representing your team. So you want that right representation, and you communicate it right up front, like Beth said. This is how we operate. This will be your training period. This will be your probation period. And then we'll sit down and we'll discuss how it's going. And that's your time to say what you feel, and my time to say, yes, you're a fit, or no, you're not a fit. So I think it's important. The next question is from Kat Ward. Do you feel that at least a basic knowledge of psychology, psychological effects, parapsychology is necessary for team members? I feel it important that folks are aware that we can often create our own experiences.
Absolutely, 100%. I think it's very wise. Really great question, actually. I think it's very wise to have somebody on the team that has some knowledge of parapsychology, some knowledge of psychology, and some knowledge doesn't have to be a degree. It doesn't have to be, you've got to have studied for years and years. It could be a good readership of that, because to investigate locations and people and cases properly, we've got to understand what's happening up here, not just happening with people around as well. So as I call it, it's either an inside job or an outside job. It's either your environment or what's happening psychologically. So I think it's important to have somebody on the team that's got a really good knowledge base on that. And again, it depends on the style of your team as well. Some people will be like, yeah, we're not really into private or residential cases. We like going to the big historical places that you can hire and just kind of enjoying ourselves and having fun and trying out different things, which is completely fine. And there are some groups that will be like, we're really into private cases, and there will be people that will probably be drawn to more, that will more likely have that parapsychological interest, at least, if not some sort of a background or knowledge of as well. And there's lots of great courses through the Rhine Institute and Society of Psychological Research, all this sort of stuff. It's great courses and to be able to do to actually expand your knowledge on that. But I think it depends on the team. But if that team is looking for like totally with private and residential cases, I think it's actually really advisable to have somebody who has some knowledge of that, because then they can. And again, like with its interviewing techniques as well, all sorts of stuff. But again, having that knowledge, I think, is really, really important for those type of cases. Yeah.
Right. And I agree, Beth. We did a case not so long ago. We do a lot of residentials, and we were the fourth team that the person had out over several months. And there was nothing there, but they wanted something to be there so badly. They watched all the shows. So when a reputable team came out and said, we don't find anything, they moved on to the next team and the next team. And still, after 4 teams gave them the same information, basically could not accept it. And at that point, you have to call it quits, and not go back to that client, because when you have a knowledge of those things, you're aware of what's going on, and it may be very real to that person, but there's not a whole lot of paranormal activity that you can substantiate. So Anthony asks, is it harder to gather results at a location when working with other paranormal groups at a location who do not have the same mindset or method of investigation? Jerry, what's your take on that?
It could be one or the other. So maybe they have a different type of method that you haven't tried before and it works really well for them, but it doesn't work for you. But you do, like you are going into any investigation, you have to set your boundaries of who's going to do what, who's going to be responsible for which location. Um, if it's a large site and you have multiple rooms, you have to be, what's the word I'm looking for? You have to be polite. That's not the word I'm looking for, but it's one that comes to mind. Be understanding that there's somebody else in the building and you don't want to contaminate their investigation or their EVPs or whatever. So you need to be conscious of how you're performing your investigation. If you have something that's loud, then you might want to work with them and say, hey, this is what's going to happen during this time. I don't want you guys to be scared, or I think it's something that's going on in the building. It's a type of method that we use. But just like even in your own team, whenever you are investigating with another team, you really have to have those set. You just have to have those set guidelines of what's going on and who's doing what.
Exactly. I think it would definitely come down to, before you go onto that a case or location, you would know, hopefully, how the other team are gathering the information, what your purpose is for being there, to actually be a part of that particular location and or investigation. Is it to assist them? Is it to collect information as well? How are they doing it? That would kind of eliminate a little bit about any sort of misgivings about what their style of collecting information and data for that particular case is compared to what yours is. Like you said, if you're going to that place, you'd know, okay, so how they're gathering their information, what style of information are they doing it through? Like, is it through a lot of personal experiences and writing that information down? Is it through data loggers or anything like that, or equipment wise, how they're actually looking at doing it? So generally, I would think it'd be something that would be a discussion before you even get there, to see what's your purpose of being there. Are you there to assist, or are you there to work alongside? And that's two very different things.
Right. We just did an investigation a couple weeks ago, and it was 12 of us from 12 different teams. There was only one person from each team that came. And so the location was a jail. It wasn't very big. It was 3 floors. In the walkthrough, we discovered very quickly that things echoed and you could hear from floor to floor. So we met as a group and set ground rules. If somebody was using a spirit box, then they made that announcement that they were using it so nothing else would be contaminated, or we wouldn't interfere with somebody else who was working. And that's really important. You meet, you designate, you set boundaries, and then you operate by that way. And it actually worked out very, very well that evening. I was curious how it was going to work out, because you've got 12 different styles, all kinds of different equipment, but setting the boundaries and the ground rules really helped a great deal to make that come off okay.
I'm a little jealous of that investigation lady.
I'm going back on June 11th because it was so good. The next question, and I've never had to do it, so I will address it to both of you ladies in case you have. How do you fire somebody from a team that either is causing conflict or just not working out in general?
I can talk to this one a lot. On another team that I was on, I was promoted, and part of my job was to clean up the team from members that were not either pulling their weight or not just showing up at all. So I try to do it in person a lot of the times because they were not showing up. I wasn't even able to get to them via either text and like, hey, can you call me back? I'd like to have a conversation with you. But basically what I ended up doing would say to the effect of, you're a really great investigator. I enjoyed working with you, but you just are not a great fit with the team any longer. I hope you are able to find another team that is more along your that you have a better fit with, but you're just not a great fit for us right at this time. It sucks. It really does suck. It's like firing anybody, and especially if you've had this person on the team for a long time and you become friends with them, it really is not a pleasant experience. So, but you have to do it sometimes. You can't just let somebody continue to be on a team that is not a good fit, because it makes everybody miserable, and you don't want to do that. So if you're miserable, your other team members are not going to show up any longer. You're going to have terrible investigations. You're not going to book investigations because you don't want to hang out with that team member, or your other team members are saying, if they go, I'm not going, that kind of stuff. But again, you have to look at it like a business, and you have to take those personal feelings out and say, hey, it's just not working out. Best of luck to you. Have a nice life.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's been times I've heard of teams where they've let someone go in their team and yet not really told the rest of the team members. So I've heard that as well, where so we've let John Smith go. Nothing has been said. So investigations that happen afterwards, and people started asking within the team, well, where's John Smith? And they're like, oh, we've had to let them go. It's like, well, when were you going to tell the rest of the team? What's happening? So I think again, it's a communication with everybody as well. After saying, look, we've had to let this person go, things weren't working out. Because sometimes people will form friendships with them, even if they're not part of a team anymore. Some people still do that. And as we know, teams can break apart and join elsewhere and restart with other groups and other members of teams. It happens so many times. Groups evolve all the time. And often it can be something where sometimes like, well, I liked John Smith and I got along with him well, and I didn't mind the way in which he investigated. This is terrible. That's it. I'm going to leave and I'm going to join and make a team with John Smith. And that can happen so often. And it does. Okay. It does. So be it, each their own. So yeah, that can also happen. But again, I think communication with the team, letting people know also that someone's actually not part of the team anymore and that have to let them go. I think that doesn't often happen as much as what it should, but again, it's running it like a business, and some people think, oh, it's just a volunteer group, and it doesn't matter, it's just people wanting to be a part of it, and often we're putting our own money into it, let alone being a volunteer as well. But I think it's again, like you mentioned, Linda, it is literally running it like a business, and that's one of the things you need to do. You need to communicate to the rest of the team about what the recent changes with everybody in that respect. Yeah.
When you're doing services of need and you have clients that really need your help, and you have team members like, yeah, I'm going to be there, I'll meet you at 8 o'clock, and roll over and do the investigation. And when nobody shows up, one, that's a safety issue for you, and two, you're letting the client down. So that's my name on the line, and you're causing me to look bad, and that's not appreciated. If I cause myself to look bad, that's one thing. If I have my team members that are failing to fulfill their responsibilities because they promised me they would be there, I get it. Once in a blue moon, you might have had a flat tire. Got it. As long as you communicate with me, you aren't able to make it. I'm good with that. But we're here to communicate, and so why would we should be communicating with the living as well. So.
On this note, we have a comment that says, so Beth, what if John Smith didn't want anybody else to know he was booted out? Well, I would think after a couple of investigations, they would catch on that John Smith was no longer with us. But
that's exactly what I was about to say. Yeah, if he may not have wanted to know, that I can understand that, because sometimes you're like, there's this shame that comes with it, and I can imagine when people are fired from their jobs, it's the same kind of feeling. It wouldn't feel great at all. But again, I think it's the respect of the people in the team to let them, like you said, because John Smith doesn't turn up to investigations like, where is he? Oh, he's in the bathroom. It's like, you can't. How long are you going to run?
5 hours, right?
Exactly. He's got bowel issues.
I think you can be discreet in what you tell them about why John Smith was booted. Sometimes just he's no longer with us. It was a mutual decision suffices, but the other team members are aware that, they're down a person for whatever reason.
I've always just said that they're no longer a member of the team. We wish them well.
Right.
If it's something that has to do with something with somebody else on the team, that person knows. So
Yeah.
again, I don't want to embarrass anybody. That's not my intent. But if you are not supposed to be at an investigation and you're no longer on the team and you show up and I happen not to be there and I didn't tell the rest of my team, they're going to continue to
And
do.
they're in. Yeah.
That's not always bitter as well. That's one thing that maybe, you know, when people leave other groups, sometimes it may not always be bitter. I've known of people who've actually voluntarily left a group and, you know, they've still supported their team on the side. They're still involved with another team, but they're actually, you know, has it been a positive thing? So it doesn't always have to be a negative thing.
Exactly. The next question, do you have any required reading material for new team members? Do you provide them with some sort of manual that states your policies or your procedures so they know going in what's expected?
I do. We have a basic 101. These are the things you do or don't do, and we go over them on their first investigation. Those same things as well. You know, don't wander off. You don't provoke. You're respectful. You're walking into the spirit's home. You wouldn't want somebody to come into your home and start yelling and provoking you. So you would treat them with the same respect. There's a document. I think it's like 3 or 4 pages long. It's super simple, high level. As we get into more investigations and different things, then we do little training exercises. So we have a brand new team, and we wanted to talk about the different types of hauntings. We wanted to talk about elementals and cryptoids and things like that, to give them the information in case they ran across that on their own time. You want them to be educated, and I can't teach everybody everything, and everybody on the team has decided, well, this is going to be my specialty. I want to learn about cryptoids. Great. When you get the high level on that, I want you to teach the rest of the team about cryptoids.
Right.
So that we all have a little bit of skin in the game. And because I can't know everything as much as I would love to and say that I know everything, I can't, right? So I'm not really well versed on aliens. Andrea on my team is a little more well versed on aliens. And so, what do you think about this? What kind of alien do you think it is? And we rely on our team for that. So yeah, we do a little bit of required reading, and then I give everybody a task. Okay, so what's your specialty going to be? So that's on them to start finding that. But I do help them. If I know somebody that's more into the cryptoids, I'm like, hey, you need to go talk to so-and-so, and they can give you some great reading material, because again, that's not my specialty.
Exactly. But I think along with that comes with, if you have the intent to join a paranormal team, this whole life is education. This whole journey is learning. And so you're right, there may be a specific area that you're more interested in. In my team, I delve into the demonology aspect. I've taken several demonology courses. I delve into the religious aspect. So I know how a Christian, how a Native American, how a Muslim, how a Jewish person handles the supernatural. And that came into play when we dealt with a residential case, and the man was from Egypt, knowing full well that my Christian procedure would not work for him. He would not understand it. So I had to go find a priest of Islam that was willing to come in and bless the home and work with the family, admitting that Christianity would mean nothing to him. It did not fit in with his culture or his faith base. So being able to utilize that knowledge and find an Islamic priest, a sheikh that was willing to go in there and work with the family. So these things are important. Everybody going into it should be open to education, because this field is just exploding and we know nothing.
Right.
You know, it's a lot of work. And on that guideline, Kat Ward has suggested, and you can find it in the live feed, that an excellent book for beginners is Ghostology by Stephen T. Parsons. She's suggesting that if you're interested at all, to look up that that book. She says it's very, very informative. We have some questions that don't exactly fit in to our subject tonight, but I'm going to ask them anyway. Do you think the spirits either like or dislike you on an investigation?
Definitely. Definitely. There's a couple of places that we like to frequent. My favorite is Kingfisher and what's the name of the building? Bracken Building. You can tell that the little girl, Victoria, is very playful, and she comes out and plays with you. The doctor, on the other hand, you can tell he's annoyed with you just by the presence. You know, when you walk into, just like when you walk into a room of live people, you can tell by their demeanor how they feel about you. When you walk into the doctor's office, you can tell you're not supposed to be in the office because that's the doctor's office.
Right.
So I believe that yes, they can like or dislike you, depending on who they are, because they were living at one time, and they have their own personalities, and they know the kind of people that they like back then. Why would that change in the afterlife?
It doesn't. It doesn't. Cranky in life, cranky in death.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What do you feel about that, Beth?
I find it interesting in locations where you're with a team and you'll find some people have positive interactions with what might be there, and then the same people, obviously the same team, but then other team members have a negative experience. So it's interesting how you could be in one location and some people are getting some a really great information or really positive interaction, and some people will have interactions some would be considered negative, although having any type of activity or interaction to me is never really negative anyway, because it means something's happening, you know what I mean? So, but of course, you know, I say that, you know, but I haven't been possessed or anything, but you know, it's I think it's very interesting, the same team in the same location, that there will be people, half a team or a few members will have a really positive thing where, you know, they're getting some activity or where there's been a knocks or communication happening, and then some people may actually get something a little bit more intense where it's like maybe a worst case scenario, scratch or something, or feel like they're being pushed or anything like that. So sometimes that can be, and all happening in the same location in the same night. So I think it's interesting depending on the people as well, not just necessarily just the location.
And to jump onto that, we have a location that we have investigated for over 10 years. Same team, different nights. The atmosphere, you can go for months with it being very, you have activity, but it's very positive activity. And then we went in one night out of nowhere. It was very dark, very negative, very oppressive situation. Same people, same method of investigating, but the atmosphere in the building changed. So, you
Maybe
know,
they were having a bad day.
maybe they were. Back to questions that kind of relate to this. Should a team member be let go if they go into, it says ruined buildings, but I'm thinking abandoned buildings, without permission? I mean, we all know that's a big no-no.
That is a big no-no. That is part of our rules and code of conduct, I guess, is what you would call it. You don't go without permission, because that you, especially if you're a known member of our team and you get a ticket for that, hey, Valkyrie Paranormal has been breaking into places,
Right.
whether I allowed that or not. So that's something you're going to be, yes, I'm going to let you go for that.
Yeah, I think it's an open and shut case in that particular thing, because it's not, as you said, it's not necessarily just a mark on the team's name, it's a mark on the field. And that's the biggest thing that often most of us can feel like when we looked on the news and like these people that call themselves paranormal investigators or ghost hunters have broken into this location and started a fire, or however it was at the time. It reflects badly on everybody. So yes, if somebody has done that, I would seriously be considering not having them a part of the team if that's how they're going to take advantage of a location by breaking the law. You know, sure, we all would love to be able to go into a place for free all the time whenever we want, but you've got to do it with permission. You know, it's You can't just break in. It's terrible. So I would think that would definitely be grounds for dismissal for me. If I was part of a team, I'd be like, that's not the kind of person you want on your team at all.
Right. Next question. Do you think it's important to have a skeptic on the team?
Yes. Yes. I don't know if anybody believes me, but I'm a skeptic. I mean, I try to debunk everything, even being a medium. Just because I'm receiving a message doesn't mean it has to do with that particular environment that we're in. If the windows are rattling, is the wind blowing? Is there noises? Is somebody outside? Do you hear talking? Are the people outside on another floor? You know, you want to debunk everything. And because as much as I want everything to be paranormal, it's not. It's not. And for somebody to claim everything that they experience is paranormal is like the boy crying wolf, right? So when you do actually get something that's amazing, a great EVP, they're like, nobody's going to believe you, right? So I'm like, I would love for this to be paranormal, but yeah, it's not. Somebody walked across the door, shut the door, the wind blew, you know. So I want my findings to be true. I'd rather have a few really good pieces of evidence than a bunch of hundreds and hundreds of maybes.
Maybe. I mean, we go in as a team and we will tell them right up front that we will exhaust all possibilities to debunk anything and everything. I've seen guys play with a door for 45 minutes trying to recreate something before they will say that's absolutely paranormal. Does it happen? It absolutely does, but not nearly as much as things that we can find logical solutions for if we put our mind to it. So I think skeptics are very important.
Absolutely, 100%. I think it's really important to have, and also if you don't have someone you consider to be somebody, as again, it depends on the style of your team. But if you don't have somebody you feel is skeptic or skeptical, reach out to other people in the community that are. So there's once great well-known skeptics that are actually quite open to hearing about certain things. You think this has come across me, you know, that we experienced this, or is there another way that this can be explained? And they can actually be quite open and talkative and supportive as well. So again, some people think, oh, all skeptics are quite cynical and will not want to listen. But you know, there are true skeptics are actually ones that actually will want to listen and actually help because they're passionate about it. And again, it's that yardstick to kind of pull you back. I've always thought the best kind of paranormal investigator is a certain shade of grey. You've got your true believers, you've got your skeptics on the other side. To be that shade of grey is the best, and you'll swing from either side. And
Exactly.
it's something that kind of grounds you on one side a little bit if you're going a little bit too far. So again, very healthy to have. And like you said, you know, 45 minutes trying to figure out something within, you know, how a door opens or closes. That's the best kind of thing because we're there to investigate phenomena. We should be looking at all plausible explanations first, generally, before we actually go, okay, this could actually be something possibly paranormal.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So the next question, what, and it's for all of us, what was your first ghost or spirit experience? Somebody would like to know that from all of us. Mine's very definitive, so I'll go first. I was in high school. I had absolutely no interest in the paranormal. But like I had told you, Beth, coming from England at age 13, I didn't have a lot of family here. So my best friend's grandmother adopted me as her granddaughter. So I had a grandmother here. She was up in age, she was ill, and she was in the hospital. And I was working at a McDonald's. And I was working in the area that's called the party area, and it's designed for small children. So there's only one way in or one way out. So the children can't get lost. Keep in mind, it's a fast food place. Granny always had a white cat, pure white cat. As long as I knew her, she had a white cat. If the cat died, she replaced it with a white cat. So they called me at work and they said I should get off work as soon as I could because her time was getting very close. But I was working this party, so I couldn't. I walked in to the room to clean up after the party, and it's a fast food place. Animals are not permitted. They didn't even have service dogs back then. So this white, I feel something on the back of my leg, and I look down, and this white cat intertwines itself in my legs. At that point, somebody calls me and tells me I have a telephone call. And it's my friend to tell me that I was too late. Grandma had passed. I went back into the room. I had told somebody on the way out, hey, there's a cat in there. You need to go get it. I go back into the room. 2 people are in the room searching everywhere. There is no trace of this cat. I felt, always have felt since then, that that was her way of saying goodbye. And that's what got me started on, there's got to be something more to this life. Something has to happen after. So that was my very first experience. Anybody else?
Well, when you're growing up, and since you can't experience what other people see, feel, hear, they can only tell you what they see, feel, hear. I always thought that everybody saw what I saw, which we used to do a lot of camping. Every weekend we go to what we called the farm, and it was out by Stroud, America. And we would go camp on this big farm. And I was usually the only kid, and so I'd go and play off in the woods by myself. And I thought that there was always little people running around out there. Come to find out that I was seeing things that other people, I'm like, you don't see those things. As you get older, right, you start talking about things like, you don't see that person standing right there? No. Oh, okay. Well, so I think for me, it's been my entire life, and I just never realized what I was seeing, because that's what I was used to seeing. And being the youngest of I was the only child across many families that went camping out here. I really didn't have any kids to talk to, and so I just went and did my own little thing. And as I grew up, we didn't have the resources that we do today. We didn't have the internet, and you really didn't talk about things. And so you try to find stuff at the library, and you couldn't. But luckily, as I got older, and probably my early 30s on up to, probably about 10 years ago, I started finding people with the likes of myself. So it's hard when you don't have the resources, but that we do today. So it's forever, I think, is the answer. Forever.
For me, it was my dad had a lovely old house in Western Australia on the other side. I grew up in Sydney, but I go and visit him on the other side of Australia. And I had a beautiful old house for about 2 years. And it was quite old according to Australian time. So it was, even back then, it was 140 years old. Beautiful. So 4 different levels, and made it into a bed and breakfast. So obviously there was lots of renovating and painting and stripping and all that kind of thing. So I was very excited because I love, lovely old house. But always, as we say, it's almost like the standard answer. It's like I was always interested in the paranormal, but it was always there. It's like I was always fascinated about the possibility of maybe objects moving on their own, or the possibility of people knowing something without actually being told conventionally, like how they could pick up on other things. And so my sister and I were staying in one of the rooms that was completed or semi-completed. And at night we heard a massive loud bang. And I mean, it was so loud it woke us both up. And I thought, why's that? And I thought, I don't know what's going on. Of course, now I look back, I think, oh my gosh, I would love that to happen, because I would have choomed out of bed. But of course, it was like, just pull the blankets up and just hope it goes away. So a very different take on it. So in the morning at breakfast, we're sitting there, and I said to my dad, I heard this loud bang. I was like, obviously one of the pictures must have fallen off or something. He was like, there's no pictures, because remember, we've actually freshly painted all the walls, and there's no pictures anywhere. There's nothing against the wall in any way. I said, but I heard something's fallen. So, later on during the day, I had a bit of a look around, and nothing had fallen. So it was this massive loud bang, just out of nowhere, but it was so loud it woke us both up. So, but I think I don't know if that's paranormal or not, but it definitely tweaked that interest of, like, the antennas go up. this could be something. But then it was literally as when I moved here 14 years ago for a couple of years. I went back to Australia, but and obviously back here in the UK now. But you know, my first couple of years here, I started to really get involved. That's when I really started to get involved within the paranormal, was when I moved here, because it was just so much bigger and 10 times more opportunity than in Australia. And that's when it really started. I ended up having some very interesting experiences with possible paranormal phenomena. And that's, again, it stays with you. It's something, I think, when you experience something, or when you think you've actually seen something, it does actually change you. You can't be the same person again. And and luckily enough for me, I think I've had a few of those experiences. Rare, but they're there.
Right. All right. The next one. Have any one of you three ladies had an attachment come home with you from an investigation?
I personally haven't. I haven't had anything in that regard. I've heard of other people that I was investigating with claim that, but for me, I haven't personally. I know for me, I know a lot of people, when they go out and do investigations, they'll actually do a protection around themselves before they go into a place. I personally don't. That's my preference. For me, I'm there to experience and to explore and and to understand. So for me, if I come in with a big shield of fear and know, as I would perceive it myself, that means I almost block whatever's going to happen in the first place. If you walk in with fear, then you walk in attracting fear. That's how I also look at it as well. And everyone's very different, and I respect that too. I think if anyone feels they need to protect themselves before they go into a place, by all means do it, if it gives you that confidence. So technically, but in that sense, technically, I've never, as far as I know, pretty much, I've never had anything follow me home. Never had. But I have heard of people on an investigation I've been with where that's actually happened at that location when they've gone home, and I've been there at that time as well. So, what about yourselves?
We do a cleansing ritual after. So like, you guys, love talking to you guys, but you got to stay here. Can't go home with me. This is where you live. I'm going to go home to my house. So we make it clear, and we should know that they have to adhere to what you tell them. So we are even when we have investigations, we tell everybody, nice to meet you, got to stay here, and we giggle to make them feel comfortable. We don't want them thinking that they're going to take something home, because that is rare, just like a lot of things. But you want to have that protection for you not to bring it home. Stop. Sorry.
Right. And I, like Beth, I don't protect myself going in, because I totally agree with what she's saying. I don't want to block anything that's going to be present. I used to just come home, but my son is autistic. And on several occasions, he has said to me, you have a friend that you brought home, you need to make them go away. And he will describe in great detail what this person looks like. So now I do, before I enter my house, say out loud, you may not enter in here. You're not permitted to come into this area. This is my private sanctuary. If anything is with me, you have to stay outside. You have to stay here, only because of my family. Now, there was one time, my husband does not buy into any of this. He's very patient with me when I pack up on a weekend and disappear with suitcases of equipment, but he doesn't believe any of it. And I came out one night and he had the door open. He's looking outside. He's got his head in the fireplace. I said, what are you doing? He had a very strong sense of smoke, cigar smoke. Neither one of us smoke. And so I said to him, we had a fire yesterday. He got very upset. He knows the difference between smoke fire and cigar smoke. It was to the point that he was outside looking around to see if anybody was outside smoking. He couldn't explain it. He never did say it was paranormal, but we had been to an investigation, and the location had the history of being a saloon just 2 nights prior. So was it something that came home with me? I don't have a definitive answer. But the eternal skeptic was outside trying to figure out if somebody was outside smoking cigars. So I don't know. I don't know. All right. Next question. Have you ever had your name come up in an EVP?
Yes. Full name. First, middle, and last. Multiple
Oh,
times.
wow.
First, middle, and last.
Interesting.
And it was not at a place that I would have frequented. Just,
Okay.
first, middle, and last came up at Cowtown in Wichita, Kansas.
Okay.
And first and last, I get first a lot, and then first and last several times. So I know it's probably my mother.
Hmm.
So yes, definitely.
Have you, Beth?
No, I haven't. In the early days, I was testing out a particular phone app that was like an Ovilus version. Very, very early days, mind you, because it had just come out. Relax, I have upgraded since. It is fine. I just ruined my street cred by saying that. But my name came out from that just out of the blue, which I thought was a little bit weird. But apart from that, I've never had that before because I think I'm quite with Beth. It can sound like yeah or yes. So
Right.
I'm very it can I'm always quite fussy with that. And again, it's got to be class A for me to go. Okay, that's my name. But I've had people say to me that they've actually had my name come through on another part of a location, but having another investigation on the same area. But as far as me myself, no, I've not had no.
Well, mine was not so much an EVP. We were using the spirit box. And if you're familiar with how that works, it sweeps so fastly that you usually only get one word that you can associate with something trying to talk to you. We were at a rather large location in Arkansas, and I needed to go back downstairs for a piece of equipment that somebody had requested. And apparently the spirit box said the one word help. And then somebody else said, how can we help you? And they got a full sentence and they recorded it. So I got to hear it, but it said, Linda, back up. And I was 2 floors down retrieving a piece of equipment. And it said, Linda, back up. I can't explain that on a spirit box because the sweep is so fast. But then again, I'm not the most technical person. So could it possibly have been radio? Maybe. It just, the timing was kind of unique when that happened. So that's the end of the questions, and we have 3 minutes. So final comments from you ladies?
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
And likewise as well, it's been great. And yeah, as we know with teams and roles, it's got to be as from the beginning. Everything's good, and that's the best advice I think I could ever give is like from the beginning, meaning when you start your team, know what you want. When you want to bring somebody in, let them know from the beginning what's happening, how your processes are. Like you said, information, training manuals, policies, really good to have them be across that and say, this is how we handle ourselves professionally. This is how we can handle ourselves. And then also having probation periods, I think it's really good. That's really, really handy to have as well. So it's literally from the beginning, if you set it from the get-go, then everybody knows where they stand.
Right.
And there's no right or wrong way. Whatever works for you, it works for you. So what works for me may not work for you at all. Maybe you're a little less rigid than I am. With everything else in my life, I'm pretty much a free spirit. When it comes to paranormal investigations and everybody's role, especially if we're at a public event, I'm a little more rigid and I need my guidelines. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the most important thing is what Beth said. Doesn't matter how you do it, but decide what you're going to be. Are you going to be of service to people that need residential assistance? Are you going to frequent historical areas. And you can do all of those, but you should have one primary focus, and everything should revolve around that as far as your rules, your regulations. And then when you go, also the one thing I also want to put in, having worked with Jerry a few weeks back, when you're asked by another team to assist, totally understand that this is their ball game and you're going to play by their rules. She's gracious enough to let us investigate the way we investigate because she understands who we are, but maybe that's not so. So you have to kind of put yourself in the background. If you agree to help another team, then it's their event, it's their ball game, and you play by their guidelines. If you can't do that, then don't accept the request to help. So
I also find interesting sometimes people may look upon always obviously being in part of team management and roles is important, but for myself, I call myself an independent paranormal investigator. So some people may feel like they can't be a part of a team, or they'd like to be more individual and do different things. And I love the fact that I can collaborate with other teams and help fit in. So I can do a bit of case management if they need a bit of help there, or help with the tech side, or help with the research side. So it's also something to keep in mind. You don't actually have to be a part of a team. Although for me, I personally would recommend people to start off being in a team first, because it's good to get a good background about how it works. Because once you're on flying solo, you need to have a minimum, like basic knowledge of how good investigations actually work and how much work is involved.
right. All right, Philip, if you're out there, would you like to come back on and discuss the next session in 2 weeks, please?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, that was great. You all did such a wonderful job. I love it. I love it. Yeah, in 2 weeks, we're going to be doing scariest cases. I'm not exactly sure who the panel is yet, but it's just going to be fun, open discussion, talking about some of the frightening things we've all been through, and just discuss and talk about how scared we are. And, if we don't run out the door and we stay there and we keep going at it and telling them to do it again, even though we're terrified. So that'll be a lot of fun, but that's in 2 weeks. I forget the date, but we're on every 2 weeks. But I think that's it for tonight.
Yes, it is.
But thanks everyone who joined us, and please share it with all your friends. And we'd love for you to come by and give us a like on our page if you haven't done it so far. We have a lot of people that follow us. We'd like a lot of people that would go ahead and hit the like button. But that's all I think of right now. So
All right.
thank
See
you.
you all in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Beth, for staying up so late. What time is it there now?
3:30 in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you. We appreciate it. All right. See everybody in 2 weeks.
Bye. See you.
Yeah.